All right. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Woo! Hayom Yom. Hamishiba Shabbos Kodesh. Wow. Today is the fifth day in the Holy Shabbos. Okay, so we're going live. We're actually, usually I'm doing this recorded thing. Now you're seeing a face to go with it. And I brought in Rabbi Kahn with us because Rabbi Kahn, he caught my eye with this because I'm a foodie. And I was looking online on Facebook. I don't know how we became friends, but I'm glad we are because Rabbi Ari here, he's got the most delicious pictures you've ever seen. I'm jealous. I'm like, every time I see his stuff, man, I'm going to him for Shabbos, man. I mean, there's a whole idea. It's called Oneg Shabbos, which means, to bring Shabbos the pleasure. And these pictures, I'm telling you, Shabbos is happy about these pictures. Shabbos sees these pictures and is going, yeah, man, those are for me. He says, yeah, those are for you. So I want to tell you, I don't know, where do you have those pictures that people can see?
They're on Facebook. Anybody can.
But do they have to be your friend? Do they have to be?
They don't have to be my friend. Probably a friend of a friend. They can even see them.
Okay, so and if you have problems, just let me know, man. Just send it to just go to ShabbosEveryday.com, sign up over there. I'll send you an email saying hello, and you send me back saying, I want those pictures. Okay. So we're doing the new format right now. The new format here is I'm going to be bringing people on like Rabbi Ari here. And also we're going to get some recipes. All right. Okay. Let's start like that. And then we're going to find out what his favorite Shabbos beverage is. And, you guys can get into that. Now, whether you're Jewish or you're not Jewish, it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't, because God is for everybody. It's not exclusive to the Jewish people. God is for all of us, and all this wonderful stuff that we're going to bring to you is for you too. So without further ado here, Rabbi Ari, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're an author and you have some amazing books, and you're a rabbi teaching at a place. And do you have a congregation, or tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I was born in Brooklyn almost 60 years ago. And my father's a rabbi. My older brother's a rabbi. I was the beneficiary of a wonderful Jewish education. Over the years, I've studied with really some of the leading people in the world. I studied with Rabbi Soloveitchik for 3 years. I was in his class, Rabbi Lichtenstein for 4 years, other people who you may or may not have heard of. And in that way, I've been very blessed. My wife and I made Aliyah 1 week after we got married.
Wow. Just 1 second. For those of you who don't know what Aliyah is, it means that he came back home to Israel. It means go up. So just want to let you know, our audience may not speak Hebrew or know those terms. So if you might want to translate those for our audience.
Got it. So right after we got married, 1 week later, we moved to Israel, started out, literally with nothing. And we've been here for, shall we say, much more than half our lives. We've been here for a very long time, raised 5 children, have another 5 grandchildren at this point. And I've somehow been fortunate to make a living by teaching Torah, which was not, an obvious thing. In terms of a career move, for a rabbi to move to Israel is like a pretty stupid thing, because we're saturated with rabbis. It's not the best career move necessarily. But as I said, I've been very, very blessed, and I have to count how many books I have out right now. But how many? I think 12 in English. Another. I literally have to count. You lose count. It's not like kids. Kids, I know how many. But another 5 books in French, and of those books, so now I will count 5, 7, 8, 9 of them are books on the weekly Torah portion.
Oh, fantastic.
Which again, if you want to talk about Shabbos, so now we're moving right into it, because that's what we read every single Shabbos. And my first book was actually based upon lectures that I gave. And I know when I started doing it, I'd actually heard 1 or 2 different people teach, and I said, wow, that's really good. And in a moment of complete arrogance, I said to myself, you could do that. So I started giving these lectures on the weekly portion, and I teach among other places, but at this point, primarily I teach in Bar-Ilan University in Israel. And I told my students, I've never taught this class before. A lot of university professors repeat their classes year to year to year. So I said, we're going to do something new. And I had my notes and some of the students had their notes. And the next year I taught it again. And at that point, I started typing them up and sending them out to former students. And that's what it was. It was a way to keep in contact with my students. And I started with a mailing distribution of 50 people, and it went up to 300 people, and went up to 500 people. And over the years, a couple of different outlets picked it up, and the numbers grew exponentially. We'll just put it like that. And eventually, somebody convinced me, a couple of people, friends, colleagues, students, convinced me to publish my first book, which was published around the year 2000. And this past year, and that was on all 5 books of Moses. So that book was called Explorations on all 5 books. And what I tried to do with it was to read the weekly portion through the prism of understanding of rabbinic tradition, which is not just the text by itself, because, we know that as Jews, nothing is ever face value. Nothing is ever simple as it seems. We always need to know what tradition says about it. And that's what I try to do. I try to teach it through tradition. So therefore, like in this week, we're going to read about Noach. So Noach is described as a righteous man. But then the rabbis argue, hold it, was he objectively or subjectively righteous? And that becomes a real interesting conversation. Had he lived in another generation, would he have been considered so great? Or was he only great in this kind of generation? So some therefore say, wow, in another generation, he would have been even greater. And others say, no, in that generation, he's great. Others, he wouldn't have been as great. And by the way, I think both are true. I think both sides of that argument are true, but that becomes an important discussion for us. And you want to get very practical. To withstand peer pressure when everyone else in your generation is doing terrible things and you don't follow them. And I told my students when I taught them yesterday this idea, I said, the next time you do something stupid, I want you to think about me and think about peer pressure and think about giving in. And maybe that'll stop you right then and say, hold on, what am I doing? Just because everyone else does something, it doesn't mean that that's what you should be doing.
That's right. Be righteous in this generation. Be your own Noah, right?
Right. So this past year, I actually published a 20th anniversary edition of the first part of the first book, which itself grew into its own book of quite large. Amazing. So just Bereshit, just Genesis now is reprinted in this, and over the next couple of years, I plan on releasing another book every year or two. And you can't do too much. I mean, you told me about marketing. You can't saturate the market with one product. So you need to spread it out a little bit. And as I said, thank God, somehow through the magic of the internet, I've been able to reach all kinds of people, all kinds of places. I have over 1,000 recorded classes online.
Wow.
And
where can they go to get all this stuff? Usually, we do this part usually at the end. But
if you Google me, you'll find me. I'm like somebody interviewed me on a webcast a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, "You ever think of retiring?" And I said, "I can't." I said, "They're going to find me. What am I going to do?"
That's right.
Find me. 1 second, I'm going to close the window here. There's noise coming in.
No problem. Well, as you can see, the Rabbi Ari here, he's got a lot of stuff, and his name is Ari Kahn. That's Kahn, and you can go to Facebook and just look him up online, and you'll find all of his stuff there. That's how I found him. I mean, I was attracted by the food, and that's me. I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie in a diet, but we'll talk about that later on. I got some good recipes for that. But this is Rabbi Ari's show right now. So tell us, the whole idea by Shabbos every day is this whole concept of Shabbat is the Makor HaBracha, which means the source of all blessing. Obviously, God is the source of all blessing, but he brought it down to us in, we'll say, kind of filters. And Shabbos is like this, the bucket, where we go get the blessing. And for non-Jewish people, also they can receive the blessing, and that's a different discussion that we can go into later and how you do that. We don't want to get into that right now. We want to get in so everybody can learn how they can bring Shabbat into their life every single day. Now today especially is the 5th day in the Shabbos, not of the Shabbos, but in the Shabbos, right? And so can you tell us a little bit about how do you bring Shabbat into your life every day, and also specifically today, what can somebody do on the 5th day of the week How can they bring Shabbat into their life?
Okay, I'm going to talk about normal times, and I'm going to talk about Corona times, because I think a lot of us have gone through upheaval during the whole Corona experience. So during normal times, right in the morning, right, almost immediately in the morning, or let me put it this way, within an hour from waking up, I will go take the Torah, divide it into 7 different parts, 7 days of the week, 7 different, what we call them aliyot, 7 people read from the Torah. And each day I'm going to read that day's portion. I'm going to read it, as the rabbis of old said, read it, read the text twice, read it with called onkelos, with a translation, Aramaic. I do that every single day. That's the first thing. I want to connect to the spiritual part of Shabbos and bring it into the week. So Thursday mornings, I'm going to read the Thursday or the 5th Aliyah, and I'm going to read that on Friday. I'll read the 6th, and on Shabbos, I'll read the 7th, in order to have a little bit of the Torah again during each day of the week. We need our grounding. We need our spirituality. Now, in normal times, what would happen next is I would go to Jerusalem. I live on the outskirts of Jerusalem. I would drive into Jerusalem and I would give a lecture, and a whole bunch of people about the weekly portion. A whole bunch of people will come. It was normally on Facebook Live as well. It was recorded. It went up on YU Torah, and within a couple of hours, that lecture would be all over the world. Again, either on the spot with the Facebook Live or through the recordings. And as I said, those recordings could be accessed. And people all over would tell me that, for example, my sister, who lives up north, not that far from you, she would tell me, no, I don't like to listen to it live. I like to listen to it as I'm doing my cooking for Shabbos. That's when I like to listen to your lecture. But literally all over the world, people are listening to it. So now that's, again, the spiritual side. As soon as I finish the lecture, I get back in the car. I go to the center of Jerusalem. I would go to Machne Yehuda, known as the Shuk, the Jewish marketplace in the center of Jerusalem, which has all kinds of sounds and sights and smells and tastes. And if it's a good day, then my wife would work out her work schedule and we would do this day together. So Thursdays, we're together. She comes to the lecture, makes faces at me sometimes, gets embarrassed when I say something which is inappropriate, or she thinks, and then we go together. And you said you're a foodie. There's another good word for it, to be a foodie. There's a Yiddish word. It's called a Feinschmecker. I don't know if
I've never heard of that one. I heard Fresser.
Yeah. No, a fine schmecker. A fine schmecker is a Yiddish way of calling a foodie, but it sounds a little bit more derogatory.
Yeah, I'm sure people are working with that one, kind of going, what did he just say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Fine schmecker. It means that everything has to be absolutely precise. So you know what it is? I can only buy the hummus from that place. And I can only buy, the pickles from that place. And I can only get my meat from that place. And I only get my vegetables. Well, my vegetables there, but my fruits over there. And each thing has to be in its right place. And let's not even start with the coffee. So I don't know if that makes me a foodie or makes me compulsive and very ill. But apparently, people who come to our Shabbos table enjoy this obsession to get everything in the right place. Now, one of the things which I suspect has attracted your attention and many other people is the meat. And then I go to this guy in the shuk, and his name is Moshe. Now that's actually part of a longer story. I was once out for dinner with a friend, and this was a kind of friend that we're very close with him and his wife. She actually found me online. They were in the process of converting. He's Abraham, she's Sarah, and she found my lectures online. And she claims she's listened to every single one, every lecture I've ever given. She claims she's listened to. And we went out to eat, and Avram knew that if he wanted quality time with me, then just asked, let's go out for dinner. And that would often work. And we were in a very fine restaurant in Jerusalem. And he's the kind of guy that after each course, he's outside smoking a cigarette. There are people, unfortunately, that do that. But the maitre d' was outside smoking with him. So he says to the maitre d', he goes, you know who's inside with me? And he goes, who? Now, by the way, this is a restaurant that Bibi Netanyahu used to go to. And this was really high, this was a high class place. And the guy goes, who is that? He goes, that's Rabbi Kahn. And the guy goes, really? I'd never heard of me. He goes, yeah. He goes, are you kidding? His books and this, and my wife, his lectures and so on. He's got, next thing I know, the maitre d' comes over to the table to meet me. Next thing I know, the chef comes out of the kitchen and comes over to meet me. And we start talking, and I've become great friends with this chef. He's actually is one of the chefs that when Netanyahu got into trouble for having these private chefs, he was one of them. Not only that, he just now won a chef competition in Israel.
Well, I just want to interject here. My father of blessed memory, he was in the military for almost 40 years. And he was an officer. And I work at a pre-military academy here in Israel, and I do the marketing for them. But I also work with the boys. I like to talk to them and schmooze with them. And I tell them, listen, if there's one thing, when you're finished with this, it's a 10-month basic course. I said, if you learn from me one thing, you learn what my father taught, because you're going to go to the military. Hopefully you'll have a good service. He says, but here's the main thing that I learned from my father about military service that'll help you out. Don't forget this lesson. So they're waiting to hear this big, idea. And I tell them, it's very simple. Make friends with the chef. After 40 years of service, my father said, make friends with a chef. So there you go. You have fulfilled.
So this is what's comical sometimes, because this guy is really, I just told you, he won this chef competition in Israel.
Wow.
He is world class. He's wonderful. I have him on speed dial.
Wow.
So he later on ended up, one second. So immediately I say to him, just tell me one thing. Where'd you get this meat? So he says, Machane Yehuda. I said, come on, really? He said, yeah. He goes, I'll take you there. And then he took me on a tour of Machane Yehuda. Now this is this is a tour through the eyes of a chef who's really well trained.
That folks making friends with the chef.
Yeah. So that's actually one of the secrets. Oh, this is where we get this, and this is where we get this. Along the line, you asked me before what else. I'm a rabbi of a shul. One of the fellows in my shul has a fish stall.
Oh.
I go to the fish stall over there, and all the workers there, they say, the rabbi has, the rabbi's here. And they go to the back room and they bring me out the freshest thing. They bring me out the stuff that I can take home. So I'm totally hooked up over there in terms of the quality of the stuff which is coming into the house. What we do with it is another thing. So anyway, I meet this butcher, and the butcher's name is Moshe. And Moshe, I don't know how many generations of butcher he is, but Moshe is the best. All the big restaurants that you know of, they're all getting their meat directly from him. And Moshe has become my friend. And therefore, again, if I go in there and one of the other workers will come over, what do you need? Moshe says, stop. I'm taking care of him. So Moshe goes again to the back, opens up the fridge. We'll pull out, a whole rack of whatever it is. And so you ask sometimes, so what am I going to make for Shabbos? So Thursday, I go in there. I don't know what I'm getting. I'll walk out to Moshe. I say, Moshe, what am I making this week? And Moshe will say to me, well, we have everything. What are you in the mood of? Yeah. And we'll take a little bit of, look at something. And I've done this long enough that I can already see what kind of quality we're dealing with on this particular week. And he gives me some cuts, which you normally don't get. So he asked me, one of the house favorites is something which he calls unterrib. Unterrib means underneath the rib.
Oh, okay.
So now imagine, and if you want, I can make unterrib for Shabbos if we need some more inspiration on this. So now imagine the cow. It's got 1, 2, 3. How many ribs does a cow have?
That's a good question.
Right? That's a good question.
Yeah.
And you live up in the Golan there. You should stop a cow and start
asking him.
Start asking. Say,
no,
dude,
do that. No, do that.
How many ribs do you have there? Now, the interesting thing about the ribs is they get bigger and bigger as they move on.
Okay.
So therefore, your classic rib steak is going to be further up, closer to the shoulder and so on. But as you move on, and also, and here's something interesting, some of the ultra-Orthodox kosher food will not give, again, I hope there won't be somebody who's going to say, hold it, what are you talking about? But this is what I understood, that there were 13 ribs. So some of the kosher places won't serve the 13th rib because it's close to the fat, which we don't eat. Some people, by the way, will use that one and just cut off the fat and say everything is fine. Some of them won't not only let you take the 13th, they won't even let you use the 12th.
Wow.
Which, again, you could decide if that's being a little carried away or not. But now as you move on, the ribs get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now imagine a piece of meat that looks like a rib steak, but is 3 times the size of the biggest rib steak you've ever seen.
Wow.
Now that is what I'm using to cook, very often. That's what my kids kid with is, that's the house meat.
Ooh, that's what you're talking about. I want to interject about the 13 thing, because some people might think that the reason that you don't take the 13 is because there's this crazy idea about bad luck of 13. Jewish people, 13 is that is a false belief. 13 is the most incredible, wonderful number you can imagine, and it is the number that actually saved the entire Jewish nation. If you go, you can learn about the 13 attributes of mercy. 13 actually in there's a thing called gematria, which is Jewish numerology. It adds up to, correct me if it adds up to 1, right? God, right. 1 is God, right? You don't get better than God, you know what I'm saying? Right. And so, we can go on and on about 13. And so the reason that 13th rib, I kind of, now you're wondering, what does this have to do with Shabbos? Everything, it's food. It's is that there is a part of the cow that is not kosher, even though the cow it might be kosher. I'll say might, because there's other things that could cause it not to be kosher. But in a kosher cow, there are parts that are not kosher. And so the concern might be that you're getting a little bit too close to that. So it has nothing to do with bad luck. If you can get that 13th rib, that's good luck, right?
Good luck, but you have to cut off the fat which is on it, which is called chelev, and that fat we don't eat. So as I said, there is some care that needs to be done there. So now, as I said, as you move on, they get bigger and bigger. And he'll then say to me, okay, you want the unterrib, which again includes the rib and what's underneath it. The cut underneath it, in some places, you can buy it by itself, and it's called a Denver roast or a Denver steak.
Uh-huh.
So you can,
is that a roast now, like a roast beef type?
You could make it as a roast. You can make it. So what I'm doing there is I'm actually playing with a couple of, with sometimes I can play with one cut, and just depending on which part of it I'm going to be focusing on in that particular week, and so on. But as I said, I have this butcher and I have a chef, and I'm able to turn to for advice.
Where's the butcher? Where is he?
I gotta know. He's in the middle of Machane Yehuda. When you're ready to meet him, you'll let me know, and we will make an introduction.
Listen, the next best thing, I just learned something new, guys. Remember, my father, of blessed memory, said, make friends with the chef. Well, I got to upgrade on that, man. Make friends with Ari, who made friends with the chef. It sounds good to me, because, in fact, I'm going to be this Shabbos. I'm coming to Jerusalem. So we're going to be with my mother-in-law. But won't have time to go hit that meat place. But that thing is in my target. I'm going there. I'm gonna hook up with Ari, and I'm gonna get you to take me over there, and I'm gonna go see what you see. And even though we got some good cows up here in the Golan.
Oh, he brings them. He brings them from the Golan. Nothing to worry about.
Okay, I'm gonna find out which cow that I got to be looking for up here. So, well, that sounds fantastic.
Am I able to share a screen here?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hang on. Let me get that on there. Hold on. I'll give you the share screen. Hit it. All yours.
1 second. There we go.
This is the foodie episode.
How does that look? You see it?
All right. So you guys you're listening to this. We have this on YouTube. So, just I'll put the YouTube link down in the bottom there of this podcast here, and over at Shabbos Every Day. I'll just go throw the link over there somewhere. So go to ShabbosEveryday.com, and you can see this amazing picture here. It's I'm not sure.
Let me show you what you're looking at. There's two. Wow. There's actually two pieces here. You see running down the middle. Here's one. Here's the other. Now this part. You see my mouse or no?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so this part is what I called the Denver steak. I could ask him to cut it along these lines over here, and then I can have like flanken, or the kind of meat just to go into the chulent on the side here, and have this other meat here. But I put it in together. Now I'm giving you the recipe now. We're going straight out the recipe.
Here we go. We're starting up. Yeah, I like this. This is good. Let's go.
Now the most important thing here there's actually two elements here that are important.
Yeah.
One is the meat, the other is the pan.
Okay.
This is a quality pan. This is
Yeah,
you have to go with the quality. If you're doing it, you got to do it right.
absolutely.
This gets very hot. It cooks it now. On the all that I did, this is like totally simple as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, by the way, one of the secrets with meat. The better quality you have, the less you need to do. All I did over here was, if you see on the very bottom underneath, there's an onion. One or two onions, depending on the size, chopped up underneath.
Okay.
Next, I take this piece of meat.
Mm-hmm.
I hold it up, and we need two people for this because it's not that small. And my wife pours olive oil on the meat or on my hands, and I put olive oil all over the piece of meat on both sides.
Yeah.
Next up, coarse salt, coarse pepper on both sides. And put it, and you can see it. You can see the pepper there. You can see the pepper, see the salt.
Yeah, I see it.
Put it down, cover it with baking paper and tin foil. Put it in the oven for the next 4 hours.
Okay, you're gonna send a picture of that on your Facebook when it's done.
And 1 second, we will.
Oh man, that looks great, guys. I mean, I'm sorry you can't see that right now, but this is like I'm ready for shop. Oh,
there it's done.
There it is. You see now, this is what I'm talking about, man. I'm ready for Shabbos right now. Let's go. I mean, we're good thing you didn't show this to me on Sunday, man. I would have been already,
Now look at the little ribs all along the side. That's like the root steak over there. Now that piece itself, dude, that little piece on top there.
Yeah.
You'd be fine if you had that.
Oh, great.
If you had two of them, wow. That's
yeah.
Each one of these pieces is incredible because it's got the right fat content. Look at those pieces up on the side over there.
Yeah.
And it all melts onto the onions over there. And I'll just tell you, the smell of the house, the taste over here of this food is unbelievable.
I can smell it from here, all the way from the goal line. I'm like 2.5 hours away. I can just smell it by looking at it. And how much is that a kilo?
That's a great question, but it's not terribly expensive. It's not a terribly expensive cut. I'd have to, ask him exactly what it is.
I found some really good meat, like for example, the silver tip.
Yeah.
Actually only about 60 shekels a kilo, which is about what was that, $15?
Yeah.
Something like that. Which is really for Israel prices of meat, because when you start getting into like the undercut and stuff, and you're getting, that gets like 100 to 150 shekels.
Or 200, depending on the quality.
Yeah, which is like $50, for and there's other, like, what's interesting I found is the brisket.
Yeah.
Over here, the number 3 in Israel is actually an inexpensive cut of meat here, and they don't seem to know about that. Don't tell them. Don't start telling them about it, because
brisket was traditionally an inexpensive cut, and that's what it was until it became considered to be a fancier cut.
Yeah, and it's like amazing. Oh man, one of my episodes, I can't remember which one it was, is recently. I spoke about this. I made 3.
See, that's the Denver. 3. That's the other side of it. That's the Denver, which I made as steaks.
Oh, wow.
And I made a little over here, onion, red onion, white onion,
nice.
Garlic.
Wow.
And I serve this.
That's it, man. That's it, folks. We're coming to Ari's for Rabbi Ari's for Shabbos. Look at that. Zoom in on that cut piece.
Which one? The meat up here?
Yeah. There. Zoom in on that. Let's see. Look at how it's cooked to perfection. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh man, look at that. Wow. He's got the right. How long are you cooking it for? At what temperature?
I can't even tell. I mean, which one?
Just do it. All right. I do the same.
Yeah.
I just cook.
We cook. It depends on the cut.
Just do it. You did. Yeah. We don't mess around with no recipe, man. We just do it. He's breaking out all his big guns right now with all the pictures over here. Wow. Look at this, man. Look at that one. What is that?
So that's a roast. That's a roast where it goes on really hot temperature, 20 minutes or so, and then you let it calm down a little bit afterwards.
What would you put on it? Looks like you put some rosemary or something.
On it will be some parsley, olive oil, salt, and pepper. Again, always as much as possible we keep things simple. Look at this.
Yes.
That's the fresh fish. Again, I made some spinach and onions to go on the potatoes on the side.
Look at that fish.
People get upset. Not enough healthy things here. We got the healthy.
I saw, yeah.
That's what I showed you before. Let's just
beautiful.
See what else.
Yeah.
We got all the grandchildren there.
Oh yeah, he's got the whole thing. He's got the family happening.
Let's see what we
very
got
nice. Yeah, look at little cute baby there. All right, not that. That's a piece of meat. The baby was the real. Actually, wow, there you
baby
go.
was the real baby.
Yeah, there's the real baby.
There's when the grandchildren come to visit. That's what we pull out.
Look at that! Wow. Oh, Ben and Jerry's.
Now
Hershey's. All right, he's got this. This is a guy who understands Shabbos in a very deep way.
So these steaks were made. These steaks were made when my last book came out. We had a little party over in the house.
Wow.
And the people who came here, this I got from Moshe. These steaks, the people who ate it said it was the best meat they've ever had.
Wow. Look at that.
Just show, we had a little bit of wine with it, obviously. You asked about some of the
so
wine.
What wine do you prefer?
Oh, by the way, there's a book under here if you want to even look
see
at
that.
it. Forget about the book. Forget about the book, right? These are all great. I love the Castel. I love the Shiloh winery, and I'll tell you a story about that in a second. Psagot, again, these are
all Israeli wines.
All Israeli wines. By the way, it's the only thing I buy. Only thing I buy is Israeli.
Yeah, I do
wines.
the same thing. I won't buy anything. I mean, think about it. The wine, the grapes are grown in the land of Israel, the holy land of Israel. I mean, you get to drink that. Oh, I'm telling you. Okay, Shabbos is in.
And this is the new book. This is the new book that came out. The crowns on the letters.
Wow, beautiful.
And
do you have your? I noticed. I was trying to look at the book. Do you have them in Kindle form?
No. Well, some are. Some are. Look at this.
Wow. Look.
Those are the steaks I made. I also made a little butcher's cut on the side over here.
Wow.
And I made a balsamic vinegar grape reduction, which people are able to put on the side on the meat.
Wow.
How does that look?
The wines that you just showed, where did you get the what were they exactly?
So these wines are, again, this is a Cab. This is a Cabernet Franc.
Where'd you get it? Where'd you pick it up?
In Jerusalem. In Jerusalem.
Yeah, you got a lot of choices over there.
A lot of stores over there, a lot of places. Now, the Shiloh is a great story here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Because I was once in a wine store, and I go to lots of wine stores. I go in, talk to the proprietors, anything I should be tasting, anything interesting going on, and they'll tell me. And again, I buy enough that they're not just going to try to pass something off on me. So I was in a store, and the guy said, "Oh, you should meet this fellow." So I said, sure. So he puts his hand out, hi, I'm Mayor Shomer. And he goes, I own the best winery in Israel, which I was going to really be insulting, but I decided I'll be nice and say, oh, you own Castel but I know the owner of Castel. I know his name. It's not him. And Castel, I really think is really at the top. And, but I'm a little polite. And I ask him which winery. He tells me Shiloh. I'd never tasted it. I'd never heard of it at that point.
Right.
And I say, hi, I'm Ari Kahn. And he stops a second and he looks at me and he goes, did you write a book called Explorations? So I said, yeah. He goes, every Friday night, every Shabbos, we sit by our table and we read a chapter from your book.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow. He goes, oh, you have to take my wine. And he gives me a bottle of his wine. We take it home. And you know what? His wine was really, really good.
And that's out of Shiloh? He's out of Shiloh?
Yeah. He actually lives in Mexico. He has a guy running it, Amichai Luria, who's a wonderful, wonderful guy. And over the years, we've become good friends, and we've drank his wine many, many times. And they make really great wine. They just won a whole bunch of awards. Wow. So we came to this evening of the book. I've worked on this book for many, many years, and we wanted to celebrate this the right way. So the meat and the wine. There
you go, folks. Get the book and get the wine, and I'm telling you, you'll be going to the next level of life there.
but I want to go back to something you said earlier, talking about Jews and non-Jews. This is the issue. The issue is that we believe in combining the physical and the spiritual. We take the spiritual, we take the physical, we mix them up together, not in confusion, but we want to take the physical and elevate it. because you know what? A piece of meat is a piece of meat and a wine is a bottle of wine.
Right.
But now just think about that. What we do every Shabbos is we take the meat, we take the wine, we put it on the table, but we're taking it into a transformation and turning it into something which is holy. And actually everything you've been, trying to tease out of me that you've been looking for is that, how do you prepare for Shabbos? But that's it. It's that during the physical week, we spend our time focused on that spiritual anchor. And every time that we're focused on it, we're in fact doing something by extension, which is spiritual. So when I go to the shuk and I'm looking for the meat, you say, no, there's just a Jew walking around the marketplace in Jerusalem. Say, no, all those Jews walk in the marketplace. And a whole bunch of the stores have signs saying, say, Lichvod Shabbos Kodesh when you buy this food. They say it on the sign.
Yeah, right. Oh, wow. I never saw that. I have to
there's signs, or people say it to you, or you even say it when you buy it. You say L'chvod Shabbos Kodesh, and then they're with you. And I love giving blessings to the guys who are selling the fruits and vegetables. I say, what a great job you have. Look at the happiness.
Are you going?
No, just a regular Jew, barely. And I say, look at the happiness you bring people. Wow. Look what you're doing. You're taking physical things and giving us the opportunity of elevating it.
Right.
Again, I'll walk into my butcher to Moshe and I'll say, okay, we'll take that. And he'll say to me, and we'll say, L'chvod Shabbos Kodesh, we'll have kavana. And look at that transformation that takes place.
Right. There's also, it's important for people to know is that we just celebrated Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And it's the way we understand it. And I have a rabbi here to confirm what I'm going to tell you. Is that this is when God decides also what's going to be your income, what you're going to get. But there's a very interesting thing that what you buy for Shabbat, for the Chavod Shabbos, which means to honor the Shabbos, is on a completely different accounting system. Whereas if a person goes and then they see that beautiful piece of meat and they really, their heart desire, or if you're vegetarian, whatever, that piece of, I don't know, carrot. So the expensive carrot. I don't know. Best I can come up with right now. So you got this meat, forget it. We're going back to the meat. So you come up with this nice stuff, and you really in your heart, you say, hey, L'chavod Shabbos Kodesh, you buy it. It's not included in your accounting. Now, is this true or not true?
100% true. The Talmud says that
100% true.
That the money you spend for Shabbos is not part of what you were given, because that you're not spending it on you. You're spending on your connection with God.
Yeah, that's an important thing for people to understand. It's not that you're going to go out and there's like the fake, like fake news, right? There's also the fake L'chavod Shabbos Kodesh thing. In other words, I heard it really said once, interesting, and you can again confirm this, is that it's called oneg Shabbat, which means to bring pleasure to Shabbat. It's not to oneg yourself. Right. It's the idea is to give honor and pleasure to the Shabbat itself. And by bringing that pleasure, remember, Shabbat is the source of all blessings. You then receive that for yourself when you're doing it with all honesty. And you really, when the Rabbi Ari goes in there and he sees those nice things and he says it, he's saying with all his whole heart. He's not looking at a piece of meat. He's looking at something that's going to bring pleasure to the Shabbat himself, which ultimately his family, which is going to connect him closer to God and to his friends and family, or family and friends, however you want to say. Did I get that right?
100%. And guests who come.
Oh, yeah.
And guests who come, and they'll say, and by the way, we don't eat this way during the week. During the week, we eat healthy things, and I'm not saying meat isn't healthy, but we're very careful. I'm not eating these kinds of foods during the week. Eating much more simpler, healthy things, whole grains, maybe fish. But again, we're during the week, different type of existence. Maybe I'll say something a little bit deeper on what you said now, and also a little bit before. You spoke before we even got on. You spoke about the Shabbos being the source of blessing. In the first chapter of Bereshis, and by the way, Genesis, and just between the two of us, no one else should be listening. The chapters are not a Jewish thing. The chapters were added on much, much later by publishers and didn't come from Jewish sources. Actually, the Archbishop of Canterbury was the one who divided it into chapters. But in the first section of the Torah, which is the first chapter and the very beginning of the second chapter, there were only two things which were blessed. One thing which is blessed is procreation, having children. which, by the way, also makes you a partner with God. God creates, and therefore you become a partner with God in your sense of creation. On the other hand, the other thing which is blessed is Shabbos. Those are the only two things blessed. So there is a rabbinic idea of enjoying the Shabbos, even, and now this is, you'll have to decide age appropriate right now, even in terms of intimacy. And I just want to make sure that we qualify enough so people don't say, well, a rabbi said it's okay. I don't want anybody using this as a pickup line. This is it. This is assuming you're married, assuming it's your spouse, assuming that, you know, everything else is okay, that having intimacy on Shabbos is something which transforms a physical idea into something, again, which is also spiritual. Again, Judaism is not a religion that rejects the physical. It says, let's take the physical and elevate it. Because when you elevate it, you turn it into something which is spiritual. And by the way, go back to having guests on Shabbos. The idea of having guests is going to be that the physical needs of somebody else is a spiritual need for me. So therefore, if I open up my table and have other people sitting there, and again, of course, everything else is true. And if the Torah is being studied and we're discussing holy ideas and everything becomes elevated, it then becomes a whole different place. By the way, two of my books are actually called Torah for the Shabbos Table.
Oh, wow.
Which are like short ideas, and maybe we'll even discuss having an audiobook out of these. These are like shorter ideas, but that's exactly what it is. I'm gonna pull one off the shelf here.
Yeah, please. Boy, we're getting food for the soul, and food for the body, food for the soul. This is like the ultimate.
Take a look at the second one. Beautiful cover.
Taste of Eden. Oh, nice. Was it more Torah for the Shabbos table? Oh, wow. That is, see, folks, those of you who have not experienced the Shabbos table, you know, I grew up, I did not experience that. You know, one day was, you know, Saturday was the weekend and Sunday was the weekend. And, you know, it was, I went from a transition from how could I keep Shabbat? Because that was a very foreign idea for me to take that time off. Well, I'm going to say it the way I kind of looked at it. It was like do nothing. And, you know, when I could go do other things, more activity, which I thought was relaxing. And I figured that this whole Shabbos idea was going to be very boring. And I went into this whole concept, my mindset was, how could I keep Shabbat? That was the way I thought. And then I transitioned little by little, and we'll get into that in another episode here, but I transitioned into another perspective now that I'm in, is how could I not keep Shabbat? It's an interesting thing. And I just want to say just one little thing about that is that this is about Abraham. It's called the Ivri. And that means the Hebrew. And what does it mean, Hebrew? It means that it means from the other side, or past, kind of like passing over something, because he was from the other side of the river. And so they're saying, hey, they called him, hey, the guy from the other side. But what did he do? He came across, and he in a kind of a way of changing perspective from one side to the other. And that's who we are as people, is that we're constantly we're one side and looking at things one way, and then going and crossing over to another side and then looking at things in another perspective. And this is the idea of being an Ivri, is one idea behind that. So I did my little, banter over here. I'd, throw in there, but go ahead, continue.
So here was the first one, which was for the Shabbos table. A river flowed from Eden, Torah for the Shabbat table. And this one's also on Kindle.
Oh, that's on Kindle.
Yeah, this one.
Wait, go back. Let me see what it is. It was $9.95. All right, man. I'm on it. I like Kindle, man, but I'm a really, personally, I like the audiobooks because they're just easier for me to consume. I do a lot of driving around, and when I go on my mountain bike, it's like helps me get exercise when I can listen to good things like this. So wow. Okay. Here's your books now. Okay. We got the Crowns of Torah.
Books. Yeah. Here are books. Crowns of the Torah. Explorations Expanded. That was the 20th anniversary work. There's The River Flowed from Eden, Echoes of Eden, which is a 5-book series, which is much more in depth.
Wow. Do you have the manuscript on the Shabbos one, the actual one? I'd like to, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind doing the audiobook on the Shabbos table.
We'll talk to the publisher. We will speak.
Yeah,
we'll get him involved. Yeah, so these are all my books. These I wrote all of these books. This one I co-authored It's a book not about Shabbos, but he wrote a book on Shabbos. Senator Joe Lieberman wrote a book on Shabbos. And then he asked me to work together with him. We wrote a book on
Wow.
between Passover and Shavuot.
Oh, cool.
So this is called With Liberty and Justice, the 50-day journey from Egypt to Sinai. So Joe Lieberman with Ari
Now,
Kahn.
is that book is the book when you say 50-day journey, it's about the counting of the Omer? Is this a book where you can learn things to better your life?
Every day is a separate, independent idea that could be learned on that day.
Oh, okay. So folks, this is a good one. Okay. We're talking about Shabbos every day. The whole idea is for us to, in fact, this is a whole idea of the 49 days is very connected to the idea of Shabbat. It's 7 weeks. The number 7 comes up a lot. And this is something where we learn to grow, another opportunity for growth. So this book, I highly recommend. I haven't read it, but I recommend at least take a look at it and consider it. I am.
Yeah. So let's get back to Shabbos. So what do you want to focus on now? Where are you now? Did I lose you in the food? I lost you in the Torah, but that's it. It's the combination between them. Right. So therefore we prepare during the week. So we're gonna have something to say at the table. And that's why I wrote those like thin books, Torah for the table. You can say it by the table. You throw out an idea, you can talk to your kids, talk to your parents, talk to the people there. But the other books, I have long essays. If somebody wants to actually sit and learn, and you don't have a rabbi with you, so now you do. The rabbi's right there, wrote the book for you with all the sources. In some of the books, I put the sources in the original in Hebrew as well. Wow. In order that you get the authentic teaching coming across.
I'm sure if they had a question, they can reach out to you.
100%.
There you go. So, if you read the books and you have questions, or if you don't even read the books, you hear this podcast or YouTube and you have questions, feel free to reach out. You can go to ShabbosEveryday.com and just sign up over there for our mailing list, and I can keep track of you over there, or you just contact me. I've got a pretty simple thing. I'm avraham.venismach@gmail.com. That's avraham.venin. Forget it. I'm just going to make one. This is Avraham. I've just been lazy. Avraham@ShabbosEveryday.com. So I think after I'm done with this, I'm going to just make that. So go to Avraham@ShabbosEveryday.com or Abraham@ShabbosEveryday.com, and you can get in touch with me. Do you have an email that they can get in touch with you with?
Yeah. Ari Kahn, ARIKAHN, number 2, arikahn2@gmail.com.
There you go. His is easier than mine. I got complicated.
You ready? Are you ready now? You ready to see the ribs?
Yeah, let's go. Ooh.
Now they're not done yet.
You got a certain set. Where'd you get that set, the cooking set?
I bought this. I bought this as well. This has a nice cover. It actually came with 2 different covers, but this is a heavy pot that gets really nice and hot. Right. And I'm able to cook with low temperatures with it, and nothing burns, nothing sticks. Now take a look. You ready? This is after the first hour, and that's after the second hour.
That's stove. Now is this stovetop cooking?
Either one. This can go on the stove or inside. I happen to have done this inside.
Wow, that looks. Where'd you get your pot?
In Jerusalem.
Oh, okay.
In Jerusalem.
Okay, great. There you go.
So so how do the ribs look?
Oh man, I'm telling you, those things. You want to zoom in?
Oh no, I don't think people can handle that if I zoom in.
Oh, come on, man. I can take it. Wow, look at that. Oh, folks.
Yes, I make up the sauce. I do it all from scratch. I don't buy any of these sauces or anything. Nah. I just use the natural ingredients as much as possible, local ingredients. That's how good cooking takes place. When you're using local, fresh ingredients.
I imagine that people basically float out of your house. They don't walk out.
But then you got to get the wine to match the meat.
Oh yeah, you betcha.
And I'll ask my kids on Thursday. I'll send a text message. Who's home for Shabbos? Who's going to be here? Any requests? And sometimes we'll get. And so, by the way, usually they'll say, Abba, whatever you want. Abba's dad, we trust you. Go ahead.
That's right, man. Oh man, I'm telling you, you folks, if you're not keeping Shabbos and this is going to make you keep Shabbos just so you can figure out how to get some of that food in for yourself in there. I'm telling you, wow, that's delicious. So tell me, let's move into another segment here. That was the foodie segment, and we had food for the soul, but can today's Yom Hamishi, this fifth day in Shabbos. Tell us a little bit about this day. What is this day in creation? And also, what can we get out of it ourselves? What can we do today that is going to make our lives happier, healthier, and more meaningful, and create a closer connection to God and our fellow and our world here?
Okay. So on the fifth day is when animals were created. The sixth day is when man is created. So I don't want someone to misunderstand something about, all the food and the meat we've been showing. If somebody's a vegetarian, I have complete respect. I understand that. I actually have I have a daughter-in-law who's a vegetarian. I have a son who's a rabbi. Him and his wife only eat meat on Shabbos. They won't eat meat during the week at all. I mean, nothing. They're vegan during the week. Again, it's not an anti-meat, but again, I get it. Animals are created. The Jewish perspective is you cannot cause pain to animals where there's no purpose or no human gain. And I have to qualify that. I remember once coming up north to pretty close to where you live, and with the kids, we wanted to go horseback riding. And I stopped and I asked the guy who owns the place, I said, well, is the horse going to feel any pain when I climb on it? Maybe I've been eating a little too much of of the food along the way. And he said to me, he goes, no. He goes, the animal loves to go outside and to run about and to get the fresh air and to move its muscles rather than sitting inside the barn. So then at that point, I said, okay, fine, I'll do it, because I was very concerned about an animal's pain for no purpose. On the other hand, in antiquity, we would have the animals pulling the carts or doing the plowing for us, and all that's perfectly okay. But in Jewish law, also, you're told that if an animal arrives to town all loaded up with stuff, then you have to help the person unload it. By the way, it adds in the Torah, even if he's your enemy. Just because you don't like him doesn't mean the animal should suffer. And the rabbis understand, because you can't cause pain to an animal. And that doesn't mean that I can't eat an animal. It means I can't cause pain where there's no human gain for it. So over here, the way that we kill the animal, and hopefully the way we raise the animal, that's not a simple thing. Sometimes animals get raised in really bad conditions, and that's something we need to fight against. It doesn't affect, as some people want to claim, whether it's kosher or not kosher, but it may affect whether you want to eat it or not eat it. But the animal, the food would still considered to be kosher in such a situation. So now I go back and I think, so what is Thursday? Thursday is when animals came into the world. So now it comes to really interesting thought about this interaction between human and animals. On the one hand, I need to respect creation. I need to value creation. I need to realize this is something which God did. But on the other hand, again, on a spiritual sense, when that animal has been properly prepared and kosher and so on, and I put it on my Shabbos table, at that point, I've elevated, I turned a cow into something which is spiritual at this point. That's really a microcosm of what took place in the temple. We're again taking something physical, elevating it on the altar, and now becomes something which is spiritual. So in a certain sense, our tables and our homes become like the temple itself. And what we're doing is this transformation. So even something which is really plain and mundane, and it's a cow, and now or chicken or fish, and at this point, now it's become something else. So that's part of the process of Thursday, which is why I think it's really, perfect to go out on Thursday, go to the shuk and do the shopping, and going into the butcher and so on, and bring the things home, and then start to get ready. The other thing the rabbi said to be careful to do on Thursdays, this may be interesting, do laundry. First, you don't get overwhelmed on Friday, but there was actually a rabbinic law that people should do their laundry ready. So the other thing I do on Thursdays is I bring my dry cleaning in on Thursdays. I bring it over to the place right near there, and I pick up from last week. And it's another part of getting ready for Shabbos itself, because you don't want to be overwhelmed on Friday. A lot of things going on Friday, which maybe we'll get a little bit deeper on that. Friday, things move very, very quickly. And therefore, where we're up to right now in terms of world history, we're on the Friday of world history.
Right.
And that's why things are moving so quickly right now, because we're getting ready for that big Shabbos, which is going to take place.
That's
and
right.
That big Shabbos, a lot of things moving quickly. So we're like in a Jewish house, late Friday afternoon, the last couple things we need to do. And Avram, you're very blessed. Came from California, which they only saw the physical, to be able to come to Israel, where we have this combination taking place. And you're not going to have to watch it on CNN. You're going to be here, part of it as it's going on.
That's why I came, man. I came. There's one thing about praying, and there's one thing about that. What one of the things because I'm a big advocate of Jews coming home, And in fact, I had a show called Aliyah Fever in Israel National News, and for a while there. And I'm also involved in that because I help boys that are that want to go and join the IDF from overseas, the Jewish boys, and they want to prepare themselves spiritually and physically and learn Hebrew and get ready for the IDF. And so I help them with that, or we help them. Our program helps. So that's at idfprep.org. So I'm just throwing a plug in there. It's my show. I can plug whatever I want, right? So I'm plugging it. All right. So, but the thing is that the idea of praying and this is kind of one of the things I've been thinking about a little bit, kind of what you talk about the big Shabbos, is that there's a lot of these people who keep, Jews are just reading the instructions. I think they don't realize that you got to take action with the prayers. And I was just reading in Ein Banim Smicha, Rabbi Teichthal, and how he spoke about that, in his book. And hang on, I'm getting a call. I just got to tell him I'll call him back. Okay, got that dealt with. So, the idea, where did I leave off?
1 second, I want to add, and the translation you most likely read as well. You read it in English or in Hebrew?
In English. In
English, by the wonderful translation of Rabbi Moshe Lichtman.
Yeah.
Who did a great job, old friend, who did a great job on that.
Yeah, I love that book, and it's and this book was talking about how the people, the Jews, are just reading; they're not taking action, to do things. The idea of prayer is it's nice to pray, but you gotta. And I think one of the good examples of that is at the crossing of the Sea of Reeds, the Yam Suf, or some people call it the Red Sea, but it really wasn't the Red Sea. It was the Sea of Reeds, where the crossing where the Jews went out of Egypt, and then the Egyptians were coming after them, and they started to pray, right? And then God said, "Why are you praying? Don't pray. Go. He's take action." So, prayer. The idea of the whole thing of prayer is good because you can start to lay down the ideas and get yourself ready to roll. But then there's a time to just get over here. So, if you guys want to eat some food like you just saw, and drink some wine like you just saw. I mean, I know you can think you can get that stuff over there. First of all, it'll be import. And second of all, it's not as good. You do not understand the taste of the food in Israel. It's so much better. And if you don't believe me, come on over and give it a try. And then you tell me. You contact me directly, okay? And now, there might be an element that you need to live here too to get it even taste better. So if you're Jewish, come on home. If you're not Jewish, hey, come visit. We love visitors. Okay. Either way, we got food for you. Okay, go on.
So we'll go back to our ribs then. Back to our Thursday, our ribs, which actually connects Thursday and Friday. Because just think about it. When Adam was created, he was there by himself, and God took his rib and then presented him with Eve. So I think that's why Jewish men have this connection to ribs. We want to go back to that moment.
I'm telling you, I like that. Yeah. Okay. there you have it.
So let me talk about the ribs for a second. Those ribs, I told you, I make up the recipe each time, but I have a couple things I try to do with it. Just like it's the imagination in the head. I try to throw in some citrus type of taste on the one hand, which could be orange juice, squeeze oranges or something like that. And mostly I would just take the orange and squeeze it. I don't need to buy juice or anything like that. And the other hand, and this is also one of the things of the house, one of the secrets, is that we're going to use a lot of what's called in Israel silan.
Right.
And it is biblical honey, which means
that's right. Yeah, that
biblical honey, date honey.
Right.
So the dates are something which grow in this land. They're sweet, they're rich, they have a wonderful taste. So my barbecue sauce will always have this combination between this. I'll throw in some brown sugar, and then I'll throw in a hot pepper. I'll throw in a little bit of ginger, and then I'll throw in some garlic. So all of those tastes and smells are going to all come together over here, and that's going to end up being my barbecue sauce. Never buy a can, never buy a jar. It's always going to be that combination. It's going to be the silan with the brown sugar, with the garlic, with the orange, all of this together.
Don't forget the hot pepper. You got
to you need the hot pepper. Crushed hot pepper gives it a little bit of you've been there.
Yeah, no, I had imported. I haven't done. I keep threatening to do it, but I did import it. I have hot pepper seeds. I have the Carolina Reaper.
Yeah.
I got the Ghost. I got a whole bunch of different seeds. Hopefully, I'm going to start growing some of those things. So we have the local whiskey guy, the Golan whiskey.
Yes,
Now,
I've met him before.
yeah, David. So anyway, he's every Thursday night he's got like a little tasting thing going on over there. I haven't made it over there, but I told him, I says, when I get those peppers, I says, once you put those in kind of like in one of your whiskeys, he goes, oh, do it, let's do it. So we're working on it. We got all our people working on it. What else you got here? What do we got?
Okay, we'll go all the way down over here. There is something if we're going to talk about the hot peppers.
Yeah.
One second. Well, these are some of the Sukkot pictures. We have a couple things from Sukkot. This we'll just put out generally because the Vilna Gaon was his yurt site.
And was it you? No, this was somebody else that wrote.
Not
that.
me. I did write a book review of it, but that's not me. So this is my wife.
You went from the Vilna Gaon to the.
Look at
Wait,
this. Look at
go
this.
back.
Look
Let me go. No, let's go back to that picture. I want to see the cover. I got to figure out how to connect it. What do we got? Oh, Aliyah. See that? Here we go. The Gaon of Vilna and his mission. See that? And then we move into this food here. All right, bring it on. Let's go. Here we go.
And then we move. And then we move
advanced. Aliyah in advance. There we go. See, here we go.
Look at this. Is that unbelievable?
Wow, that looks like that Wagyu.
Exactly, it is.
It is Wagyu?
Yeah.
Oh,
somebody brought him some Wagyu. There's a flock of it, and my guy Moshe hooked me up.
I've had that Wagyu. That stuff was unbelievable.
This is something my wife made. It's called chicken fricassee.
Wow.
It's Polish peasant food, which we love.
It looks good to me.
This is all from Sukkot, and that's some that balsamic grapes. That's what you see over here. Reduction that I made. I put it on that Wagyu.
Okay, I like. Look at
That's
that.
The roast. Now this is my chocolate chips. You see the percentage.
Oh, you're talking about that's I saw that. When I saw that, I was like going, because I it's like Superman has his kryptonite.
Yeah, this is it.
Chocolate chip cookies. That's my kryptonite, man.
Look at this. I made
those. I'm done.
This is us. This is us in the sukkah.
You made it? You made them?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh, it's okay. Wow. So yeah. Now these are some chocolate chip cookies right there. Wow.
Get out of this.
My wife's listening to this. We got the foodie show going on here. Yeah. Can you share those?
She wants to see the cookies again?
Yeah, let's see them. Look at this.
Okay, here's the batter. You got it? Here's the batter.
Wow.
There, a little closer up. I actually put in 3 or 4 times the amount of chocolate chips they call for.
Yeah, I saw that when I saw your.
And then here's the final product. 1 second. Here, that's the final product.
From your shirt, look a totally different color
on there. I don't know. This is going on YouTube right now. We're live.
French toast out of my wife's homemade whole wheat.
Wow.
Raisin cinnamon challah. Doesn't get better than that.
Okay, look at that. Wow, look at those.
I made that for one day also during Sukkot.
It's bad boy burgers. I like it. Yeah.
On the tray, being carried out to the sukkah.
Ooh.
Wine.
How's that wine?
It's great. And it's a nice place. They actually have developmentally disabled people who do all the work for them there. That's why that's
Tulip. This is called
Tulip. Great place. Great place. Great people.
Wow.
Oh, so now we got some ribs there. So we're back. Yeah. So believe it or not, we didn't finish this. A bunch of my kids were over. We didn't finish it, but it was really quite good.
Yeah, but I'm sure it got finished down the road.
It did. There's my granddaughter eating one of the
beautiful. Eating a chocolate chip cookie. I'm jealous.
That's why there's the smile there.
Beautiful. Wow.
But there was something else I wanted. There we go.
Schug.
That's my schug.
I love schug.
So
Skug
that's
is the equivalent of it's an Israeli hot sauce.
it is kuzbara,
Yep.
hot peppers.
Yep.
I actually and garlic. I
Uh-huh.
add two more things: olive oil and salt. All in the food processor, no cooking. That's all
Very
that it is.
yeah. Oh, I love that.
And I sometimes I add one little sweet red pepper just to play off the spice on it.
You want? I'll tell you. I'll tell you a secret ingredient. I put them.
Yeah.
I like Mexican food, so I
Uh-huh.
make. I've been working out my salsa
Yeah.
and a little fresh ginger.
Interesting.
Putting
Interesting.
in there I found that ginger is making like is a flavor enhancer. So not too much, right? You have to put just the right amount, and it really puts it over the top. It's I call my secret ingredient. I make this salsa, which is very simple. You just take and you put the tomatoes and you roast them, and then you can then put them in the blender after that. The roasted, because that takes the bitterness out, is in that, and that's all. And then I take that and put it in the blender, and with the skin on. You can take the skin off, but I like to keep the skin on. And then I take one of these Israeli hot peppers. It's not cooked; it's raw. Put that in, and then half an hour, not a little less than a half an onion. It's like 3 tomatoes. This is the basic. It's 3 tomatoes, one of those peppers, chili hot peppers, and then maybe about a third of an onion, and then a big handful of cilantro, 3 cloves of garlic. I have a Dead Sea salt that I got myself. I went and took it for myself. That's one of my secret. When we went to the Dead Sea, make sure to scoop, because you just go there. The whole thing's full of salt, and you just take as much salt as you want, clean it off, and you got salt for life over there. So I throw some of that in there, olive oil, and a little bit of lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, and then a little slice of ginger. That ginger throws it over the top, and that just makes it like unbelievable. So, it's really, really good salsa when you make it. Like everyone, we put that on meat and everything. And because I did an episode called Korban Tacos.
Okay.
And what it was about is that I had a friend of mine brought over he said, he's coming from California. He says, "Can I bring you something?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "What?" He says, "Bring me a tortilla press." I says, "What are you gonna do with that?" I said, "What am I gonna do with that?" I said, "I'm gonna make tacos." So I'm missing tacos around here. And in Carmiel, there's a tortilla factory. You can go get the masa harina flour, and you can buy the tortillas ready made, but I had to do my own. And then you can get great salsas over there too. But I also, want to make my own. But I said, look, the real thing I'm doing is I'm just preparing. We're preparing for what? So I'm preparing to go to the temple, the Beit HaMikdash, and I'm going to be making korban, which is the offering tacos. I've got the salsa. I'll have the tortillas. I'll have all the trimmings. All they got to do is bring their meat to me, and then they got themselves a taco. I said, we're going.
We'll go back to the Vilna Gaon for a second. One of the things the Vilna Gaon told his students that it's time for the ingathering of exiles, time to us to go back in. And that's really significant spiritually, because whoever would have predicted this? I mean, if you could have gotten odds in Vegas, a couple thousand years ago, the first temple is destroyed, the Jews are dispersed. Are they coming back? And you would have said, listen, not only do I want to put money that the Jews are going to come back, I'm going to put money on. They're going to come back. They're going to go out, and they're going to come back a second time.
Right.
Imagine how much money we could have made if we would have put our. That's it. We wouldn't have to work anymore. But the ingathering of the exiles is so significant, but it's also significant religiously, and it's a miracle. Again, we live in a miracle. We live in miraculous times. But it also impacts our food, because I just moved into a new house, but my old house, which I lived for 35 years, we had neighbors who were Moroccan, and neighbors who were Yemenite, and neighbors from Iraq, and everyone has the different foods. And we all, again, we were newly married, and we all learned from one another, and we listened. Now I'll tell you back to the story of my friend who's a chef. At one point, my wife says, "What do you want for?" I said, "Why don't you make?" And it was really going to be a very, very simple dish made out of chopped meat. By the way, go back to my butcher. If I tell him I want some chopped meat, he's not going to give me chopped meat. He's going to say, "What are you using it for? Is it for hamburgers, or is it for meatballs? Is it for So I'm like, what is going to be the usage? And that's going to then define the fat content and how, and what, I mean, the guy's a pro. So it's not just give me some chopped meat.
Right.
So anyway, she wanted to make a particular dish and which is very popular among the Sephardic culture. And she said, I'll just ask the neighbors. So she walks in and she goes, you have a recipe for this? And by the way, first I said to my wife, let's call Lior. That's my friend who's the chef. Call Lior. She goes, I'm not calling Lior to ask how to make chopped meat. I'm not asking. I don't need to do that. So what happened? She goes next door and she asks the wife, who's Moroccan, how do you make this? And she starts telling him, and the husband jumps out and he goes, don't ask her. The husband's Iraqi. He goes, she's Moroccan. She doesn't know what she's doing. He goes, my mother made it better. He goes, listen to her, listen to me. And they're fighting back and forth. And now she realizes if she makes it like either one of them, she's going to get in trouble because the other one's going to be mad at her. So she goes, okay, call Lior. And Lior went and told her exactly how she should be making this. The secret ingredient actually was olive oil and red onions and pine cone and not the pine nuts. The pine nuts.
Snowbarim,
yeah, all of that together, and then to make these little like patties, and it was kebabs. That's what she was making, like the simplest thing. But you get a recipe from a chef how to make a kebab. Next thing you know, it's the red onion, not the regular onion. It's the pine nuts and and it's the olive oil and not anything else. And the next thing we had was the most delicious kebabs you've ever tasted. But years ago, we have a holiday which called Purim, and one of the things in Purim is you give gifts to the neighbors, and you give some neighbors you want to give something special, and other neighbors. So I decided that I was going to try to make something a little bit out of my league. I was going to now. There is what do they call this? Carpaccio. Have you gone to a restaurant and have carpaccio?
What is that?
Is
that a bread?
No. It's meat. It's actually made out of raw meat.
Raw meat?
Yes.
Oh, never heard of it.
Hold on. So hold on a second. So I call up Lior. I say, I've had his carpaccio. It's like one of these things where the tastes dance in your mouth. And I said, how do you make it? So he goes, okay, 1 second. He goes, come by 11 o'clock tomorrow. I'll open the restaurant for you. And he opens up the restaurant and all the sous chefs are there. And he shows me how to make it. So for Purim that year, I made for a couple of friends, I made carpaccio. Now this is what you do. You have to get meat. Either you can cut it really thin, or they use like a hammer kind of thing to smack it down, make it really, really thin. And then you put olive oil on it, balsamic vinegar, coarse salt, coarse pepper, lemon juice you squeeze on top of it.
That cooks it.
And you eat it right then on the spot, you eat it. But again, straight from Lior, and then comes gifts and people who got this on a plate, on Purim, they got a plate of this and a bottle of wine. There's like you just gave him a meal. You just gave him something.
You gave him something. Yeah, it reminds me. I make. I've been making this thing I call the shabiche because it's
very similar. Very similar, except with fish instead of with meat.
Yeah, I do. I do this thing. The reason I call it shabiche instead of ceviche, which is because I intentionally make sure to put every blessing into this thing. I have the eights, I have the adamah, I have the shekel, which is the blessing for the fruits, and then you have the blessings for the ground, and then the blessings for all these other types of things, and then you have the nice cracker, right, for the shekel. Then obviously got to have some nice whiskey and and this, it's just, you ever make the ceviche?
I have. My wife won't eat the fish, and she won't eat. I mean, she cooked fish, but the ceviche doesn't speak to her.
My wife didn't like the raw, but when I make it,
she won't even taste it. She won't even taste it.
Look at it, right?
But you said something about the whiskey, so I just want to say one thing about the whiskey. Yeah. We have a old family custom that we drink the whiskey after the fish.
Yeah.
So on Shabbos, my grandfather had a custom. I never knew it was a custom, but he did it every week. My grandparents lived, one set lived right up the block from us, and the other one lived like 10 minutes from us. And my father's an only child, so we used to very often go spend Shabbos. The kids would spend with my grandparents. And my grandfather every Shabbos would accidentally or not spill his whiskey on the table and then take the challah and dip it into the whiskey. And he would have challah saturated. I think he did it on purpose, but it was every week, and he had this challah saturated. So, but we had an old family custom, which my father gave an explanation to, that after the fish, you drink some whiskey. Now the question is why? So now a simple reason why is you want to wash out the palate. We don't eat
Right.
fish and meat together. But he said there's a deeper theological reason for this. And maybe we'll wrap up on this.
Yeah, we can
thought.
wrap it up. It's actually interesting you say that because we're in Parshat Noah, the
Yeah.
Torah portion of Noah and the fish. This might have some connection there.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, one of the stars in the Noah show is the Yonah, the bird. And then you have the person named Yonah who's swallowed up by the fish. I did write an essay on this. In one of my books, I have an essay between the two Yonahs, the Yonah of Noah and then the prophet Jonah, and what may be a connection between the two of them.
Wow.
And it's about the raven as well. I think I called it The Raven Nevermore, of course, going after Poe. But so my father said as follows. He said that that when the fish swallowed Jonah, so then Jonah was inside the fish and he prayed. And what happened when he prayed? Then God answered his prayers and he spit him out. So when we swallow the fish, the world is fair. The fish should be able to pray as well. And then we're going to spit out the fish. You don't want to do that. So you drink the whiskey in order to get the fish drunk. So therefore they can pray and therefore we're safe.
I like that. Okay, I'm gonna have to adopt that. Another good reason to drink whiskey. All right, there we go. Well, I want to thank you so much we have this amazing all over the place adventure, and I want to make sure that everybody knows. Go get those books. That of Ari's. Go check out his Facebook. You can see here. Those that are listening to this, you can go. I'll have the YouTube link. You can see all these pictures, or you can watch it on YouTube. Listen to it on YouTube.
I have a YouTube channel as well. They can find. I make little YouTubes for Shabbos, 3, 4, 5 minutes long. They can find me there as well.
Perfect.
Rabbi Ari Kahn. Yeah.
So there you go. You can hear. You see that Rabbi Ari has all kinds of fun stuff. You can see he's bringing Shabbos into his life every single day, every moment, and he is Shabbos. So and everybody's Shabbos. There's a whole idea behind that as well. But we're going to leave it out today because we can just go on. He and I can just go on and on until Shabbos, and then we're going to really have to cut it off.
So we have to stop and eat at some point.
Yeah, right. We got to. Right. That's after seeing this, man. It's lunchtime. So anyway, everybody, go to ShabbosEveryday.com and sign up over there. And I'm working on the Shabbos Everyday workshop. And if you're not Jewish, remember, we love you too. I'm not the only Jew that says that. Do we love non-Jews there, Rabbi Ari?
We love all of God's creation.
See, you thought I was the only one that said that. You see, so, this is how you don't have to be. We don't have this idea. You got to be like us. Nothing like that. You just got to be you. And that's what makes you, you. And that's what makes us love you. So just be you. If you're Jewish, we love you too, right? It just doesn't matter. And anyway, so that's it. We'll see everybody I always sign off like this. I'll see everybody at the Beit HaMikdash, which is the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. And why do I keep saying that? Well, there's an episode that talks about that. Just go find it about that. But we're going there. I got my tortilla press, and then I see, I'm going to hook up with Ari here because he's got the recipes. So together we're going to come up with some good holy meat, holy cow. Holy cow. All right. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Woo. Yeah.